When I was little, I was gonna be a scientist. It wasn't a question or a dream. I was going to be a scientist. I loved and still love science, biology, learning and understanding how things work. It's fascinating to me. I was going to learn all about science and help change the world. Then math happened. For whatever reason, I have never been able to wrap my head around complicated math. Once letters started mixing with numbers, my brain just shut down. Math ruined a lot of my dreams, and it's fair to say that I have almost never used algebra or geometry in any real-world application. I say almost. There was one time I used more than basic math in the real world, and that was solely out of spite. Someone didn't believe I could do something. I had to prove them wrong. That's what I want to talk about today. I was in college, my dreams of being a scientist long behind me, focusing on writing and acting. My college was in North Jersey, and I guess must have gotten some big funding just before I got there, because there always seemed to be construction going on somewhere on campus the entire time I was there. I never really got to see a lot of the new buildings, though. I was going for a degree in the arts, and, well, you know how funding goes. The arts gets the crumbs. Anyway, my roommate and I were walking back from lunch one day when we passed by one of the construction sites. It was a Friday, and the crew had gone home for the weekend, but they'd left the gates to the site open. Curious, we poked our heads in, and that's when we saw it. Right near the edge of the site was a large wooden spool. It's one of those things construction people keep large coils of wiring and such on, but it's also something that I'd always wanted. Okay, hear me out. I'd read a lot of books and seen a lot of movies and TV shows where people had those big spools in their homes. I'd never seen one in person before, and my mind immediately told me that since I'd seen it on TV, I had to have it. I mentioned this to my roommate, and he goes, "Pfft, you'd never take it." What? You're a pussycat. You'd never do a crime. Let me just say, actually, no comment. We head back to our dorm, but the spool just won't leave my mind. As my roommate's packing to head home for the weekend, he finally says, "Dude, even if you did manage to take it without getting caught, you'd never get it in. It won't fit through the door. It's not possible." Okay, a couple things. First, I may not have a lot of faith in myself, but any time someone tells me that something I want to do is impossible, I do everything in my power to make it possible. I will summon up an eldritch strength buried deep within the confines of a forgotten realm and bend the very fabric of the universe to prove them wrong. Second, this was the roommate who pranked me on April Fools by putting Vaseline on the doorknob to my room and then left for the weekend. As a counterprank, I borrowed some stuff from the theater shop and walled off the door to his room while he was gone. He should have known there was nothing I wouldn't do to prove a point. Anyway, Friday nights on my campus were usually dead. It was the perfect time to prove someone wrong. At night, I walked over to the construction site and right up to the spool. I turned it on its side and started wheeling it back up towards the dorms. Right then, I was filled with a small sense of pride. Step one was done. I roll it up to the door, and then it hits me. The standard doorway is 36 inches wide. On its side, the spool was 48 inches. And I couldn't turn it because the spool's diameter was 48 inches. I have to get this in, but... oh no. Math! I was so close. I was not going to be wrong. So I sat down with my greatest enemy, and we made a tenuous truce. I was basically facing a square peg round hole situation. Only it was a rectangle hole and a round peg. Anyway, here's how I ended up figuring it out. I put in one side at an angle, slid the core of the spool over, swung the rest of the first end in, pivoted it so the other side got in the doorway, and then slid the rest in. Huh, maybe you aren't so bad after all, math. Thanks. Now give me your wallet. I get the spool into our dorm room and set it up in the living area. Sunday night, my roommate comes back. Hey, how? You told me I couldn't. Eventually, the spool became a small legend on campus. It got passed around to all my theater friends, and eventually ended up being used in a couple of plays as a set piece. In the end, I may not have ended up as a scientist or done anything to change the world in any significant way, but every so often, I still do the impossible. Just without math. Aww.